You ready?
There is a connection between the paranormal, UFOs, and the myths of ancient history. The clues are scattered across the landscape from a forbidden past, maybe even in your own backyard. There is a connection between the true nature of our reality, consciousness, and the unexplained. I'm Carl the Crusher. Let's explore the unknown. It's like an ammo box. He's like taking off from the earth. Pay attention to this symbol here. It almost looks like a tunnel going down into a chamber. Are they drawing about like Stranger Things? Is this like our reality in the upside down? Because we always see these portal symbols in different places. And sometimes there's even animals or people falling out, like they're falling out of the sky. In the middle, there's my hand with my glove on. So this is where all the entity figures are on the wall. But where the energetic lines go and connect is now glowing kind of oddly. So there's that weird like diamond pattern. There you can see it in the rock right there. And there's these hot spots. And then as I come down right in the middle, here's a hot spot. And I notice that it's all a different color. His hands are upraised. I've seen this at another canyon with the arms up. An arm with his hands up like this, another arm over here. His body goes down and then he has these giant feet like this. I mean, I've seen this in so many other places. Look at this. If this is not, I don't know what it is. That looks like a person, it looks like a person, it looks like they're inside something. And then this guy with the antenna and the square head and his buddy. Look, the head, the arms, the body. I've seen this near my house, this exact one. I was calling it, it said it looked like a Skinwalker. Welcome back to the Carl the Crusher channel. When I told you guys that we were gonna go on an epic adventure that started here at these big giant serpent or dragon skulls down here in the valley and then head up the mysterious Ghost Canyon to investigate ancient petroglyphs, you guys had no idea because here we are now on episode 6 of this entire season 1, exploring the petroglyphs up this canyon and all the mysteries. And a lot of you, some of you even on Patreon, have encouraged me to come back here to the beginning and try to fly a drone over the top to see if you can see if this actually looks like 2 giant dragons coiled up. Now my drone got crashed up at Mount Wilson Ranch. There's weird energy over the meadows up there, and when I tried to fly it, it lost connection, had to land immediately, and then the second time I tried to fly it, it backed up and crashed into the pump house. So I haven't been able to fix it yet and get it going, but I am gonna hike around, and I did find a spot where I think we can get a lookout. This is the spot where there's these giant sandstone rocks and boulders and these features that actually look like a coiled up set of dragons. Like there's one here wrapped up that comes around, and this is one skull, and then on the other side there's another one up over there. Now there are some people over here doing road construction, fixing the road over here in the distance, so we're gonna try to avoid all that noise. But let's hike around and see if we can get more of an overhead view of all of this. Not only that, this is gonna blow your guys' minds. Since I started this whole series, and we're on episode 6 now, if you go back to episode 1, when I started here and we were speculating, are these giant fossilized like dinosaur skulls or some kind of ancient serpent or something like that? See, as I walk up here, here's the other one. It looks like a big head of a giant python or a serpent. And now get this, I've hiked up the canyon and been looking at all the different petroglyphs, and there's more stones that look like this that go up the valley. And not only that, the petroglyphs, when I've posted those videos, I've gotten reports from Navajo elders that have explained to me that these petroglyphs actually depict the story of an ancient origin and creation story where a giant feathered serpent came up out of the earth into the valley, into these marshlands all over the globe and all over the world, but also came up through here and helped create and form the world. It controlled Mother Nature, including the weather. It controlled whether it rained or whether the waters came and went. And it was this oral tradition of these giant feathered serpents that lived in these valleys. In fact, the petroglyphs and a lot of the wavy lines coming in and out of the boxes are actually telling the story of these feathered serpents, these giant pythons that came up and lived in the valleys here in the desert Southwest and maybe even all over the world. There's even the rainbow serpent legends in Australia and elsewhere. So you guys can make up your minds if this stuff is real or legitimate or not. But the oral traditions of a lot of the Native American people say that the petroglyphs and all of these different areas indicate that these are giant serpent creation myths, which is very interesting. It might sound familiar, like Quetzalcoatl down in South America, and also the rainbow serpent of Australia, of the Aboriginal people there. They have the same story of this giant serpent, a feathered serpent that came up out of the earth in prehistoric times and that went through the mud and even flew through the sky in the storms of the rain clouds and actually caused the weather, controlled nature, helped create the different animals, and even developed the evolution of humans on the earth. This creature, this giant serpent, was revered as a god and a great creator that was the Lord of the heaven and the earth. And the petroglyphs, the big boulders, and everything, including the place that we were in the last video, where it seemed like there's a big boulder that fell off the top of the hill and there's petroglyphs carved all over it, represents this story of the giant serpent coming up into this valley and the people that were living here worshiping it as one of their deities and carving it in the rocks as part of their creation story. So now the question is, how do we get up to try and get a point of view to see if these actually look just like natural formations that happen to look like big serpents that are coiled up together, or if it is an indication of something much more mysterious. So I'm a little bit up higher now, but not quite enough. I think I could either get up there or I could even go up a little bit higher up there. But what's interesting is it doesn't really matter where I go. All of these formations really kind of look interesting, like it may have belonged to some interesting geology. Now this is all just sandstone, but it does make you wonder if it's tied to the stories in the oral tradition, and especially all the petroglyphs we're seeing. Even when I walk around the backside here, it still looks strange. We need to get, I know what you guys are saying, we need to get an overhead view, but see, it looks almost like big head, body comes down, tail comes up, tail. There might be another one even up there. Maybe we go up, stand on the head of this one to look down at these. And then as I'm hiking up here telling you guys all of this, bringing you up to speed as to what all of this is about, don't forget that right over there, if I keep going up the road, is actual real petrified dinosaur footprints right in the sandstone where you can go up and take pictures with them. Big three-toed dinosaur tracks in the ground. Why do they all look like big snake heads? It's like so crazy. Look at that one. And then it's still, when you try to say, well, there'd be more evidence, it does look like, you're like, okay, let's follow the body back then. And then here's the head. It looks like it goes up, and it looks like it goes down, all the way down there. What the heck? It's like hollow in here. It's like inside the skull. I mean, these are just natural erosion of sandstone, wind and rain, but it is really fun and gets your imagination going for sure. Let's come up here on top of this one. Now we're on top of the what would be like the head. And let's look down here and see. Looks like there's the one head and there's the other. It's definitely hard to tell. I think we're gonna get a better look from up there. I'm not sure. We'll try. But notice how this would be the very bottom of the dried up marshland or riverbed, where everything would settle at the very end when this finally dried out. I know you guys are right. Tell me, get your drone fixed and get out here and fly it up there so that we can see from overhead. It would be really cool to be able to see from overhead. I got to put that as a priority, get my drone fixed or maybe get another one. But all of you guys making those special requests are part of my Patreon inner circle, where subscribers to my Patreon get to make specific research requests for me to either bring a drone, use thermal, and do different specific experiments that they're not seeing. Or if you want me to come back here and revisit places, that's the way to do it. Now I am going to be moving all of my Patreon subscribers and everything that want to come over to my actual website, where I'm going to have subscriptions and everything based there, where I have insider information, behind the scenes stuff, plus workshops and all kinds of really cool things, one-on-one private interviews that you can do, and access to the specific contact protocol and meditations that I also practice as well, that I'm going to make available there. Over there is where we just walked from. We came down here all the way up here. Here's where the main stack of serpent rocks are. So I'm trying to hike up here to get to the top, and I noticed that the hillside looks like glitter everywhere. So I start looking down. I'm like, oh, somebody was like breaking glass or something. But no, this is actually selenite. See that? This is natural crystal selenite coming out of the ground right here. Let's see if I can find a really clean piece, maybe even a big chunk of it. Oh yeah, look at that. It's just like sometimes it's totally see-through. Yeah, this one's a little bit dirty, but I'll see if I can find a big chunk of it. Very interesting that there's this selenite crystal geology. There must be a layer embedded in the hillside here. I mean, there are chunks. Look at this. See the shine on that? Wow, this one's actually still pretty dirty, but it's just like a big cake with layers in it. Here's a good clear chunk. See that? Cool. Okay, I'll keep my eye out. It looks like there's shiny pieces all up the hillside. I actually made it to the top of the hill up here. I don't know what it's like where you're at, but it's actually hot today. Oh my gosh, it's the beginning of February here and the sun's out. I'm cooking. This is some of the chunks of selenite that I found, just to show you what all of that actually looks like stacked up here. I wonder if we hold this one up. Yeah, you can really see how see-through that is. A lot of times they crush this stuff up and actually use it in your sheetrock in your house. There you can hear the tractor doing construction down there. You can see my truck, the motorcycles for scale. And there you have what looks like giant serpents. It looks like it. There's the head, and we'll follow it all the way down. Looks like a tail wrapping around there. Let me zoom in so you can see it. Pretty interesting, that's for sure. You can see the thing like it's coiled up down there, but it is like there's two, and it is almost like there's a third one up here behind me. And then further up there, where we're gonna end this video today, we're gonna wind up back at the other stuff that looks like big dragon, serpent, python skulls in the meadow up there, up that canyon. And what's interesting about that is how is it that all the petroglyphs, including the big triangular stone that's carved, is all meant to actually authentically represent giant serpents? Why? We're walking now down right over the back of what would be representation of the spine, the spinal column. So I'd be standing like right on part of where the tail goes up right here and where these two go together. And I gotta tell you guys, everything that I'm telling you, including there being interdimensional doorways, portals, other things like that, where there's entities and star people on the other side that traverse through the electromagnetic field of the earth, that's all stuff that's being taught to me by Native American elders that are teaching me this stuff. I'm not coming up with this on my own. Some of my friends, Roger and Colleen, are working on this entire project called the Re-Indigenizing project, where it's trying to help people, especially Native Americans, reconnect with these locations and with the natural energy of the earth through the ancient rituals and ceremony and through meditations, and also just like a new and renewed understanding of this whole global system that has been lost, that energetically connects these petroglyph locations and these medicine wheels through the electromagnetic field of the earth to spiritually unite humanity through our consciousness and through our intentions in order to harmonize the planet and the future of mankind. And this entire project is something that I'm super proud to be a part of. And as I get more and more information, I'm going to make it fully available on my website. And hopefully my friends and Native American elders can come on these videos, and we're going to go to Magic Mesa, and we're going to try to go to Mount Wilson and work on all of this stuff and bring it to the world. This would be the side of what looks like one of the petrified serpent bodies. Now, if you're looking for like bones, it's not really like that. It's almost like a weird mix of bone and tissue that just suddenly flashes hard. So like, see, we can go right up the middle in between them, almost like there's two side by side in a row here. And so let's go up here through the middle. And then I'm just gonna do this all in one take so you can see what this is like. And then if we cut through here, let's try to go down through here. Watch our step carefully through the crack and not step on a nail. And we come around here and look, here's this other one. Right? Isn't that weird? It does look like I know. See, if we come up close, people have just come up here and put the teeth on, right? These are just rocks. People have come back up here and stacked up, because I'm not the first one to think that that looks like a big dinosaur dragon head, right? So we're just gonna keep walking so you see how it all fits together. And then we're gonna go up the Ghost Canyon, and I'll show you the big python looking petrified skull there. Here's this one. See? Right there. With the head all perched up here. And then over here, have that one. All they are now is really cool rocks and an amazing story and a lot of speculation that makes us wonder what could be real, what was the ancient mysterious past actually like, and what did they know that we don't. I'm gonna fill up my truck with litter and debris today. So this is episode 6 of this whole series that we're doing about this canyon. So if this is all new to you, make sure and go back to episode 1 and catch up to the entire mystery, because I'm bringing it full circle with kind of this recap visit back to the giant skulls. We're gonna go to this big python looking giant serpent skull in the mud here, and then back up to the petroglyphs from our last video where we used the thermal imager, because what I've been taught changes everything. The geology here is just so cool. This is one of my favorite places in the whole world. A lot of times you're gonna see, like in the titles of my videos and the descriptions and stuff like that, where I use the terminology like ancient aliens and portals and alternate dimensions and different things like that, because I have to use terminology that the algorithm and that the YouTube and Google system understands in order to know where to categorize my videos in order to get them seen. But outside of that, everything that I try to relay in all of the videos as far as the content itself and what I say on camera, especially more recently now that I have help, is authentic. So when I'm talking about these giant feathered serpents in the oral tradition of this valley, it's all accurate to what I've been taught. These aren't coming from me. When I really allow myself to slow down, immerse myself into the stories, the oral traditions, the things that the Native American elders that are teaching me have been teaching me about these places and what they mean, it's so surreal to be here, to come down into these places, into the canyons, to hike up and feel it, to wonder and to imagine, could it have been like that? What could it have been like in an ancient time where things were a lot more mysterious? Was there giant serpents, giant feathered serpents that swam through here? Or is it all an allegory to the stories of creation and how they've been handed down? It's so fascinating that there's parallels to the legends and the oral traditions across most of the Native American tribes, even what seemed like they were disconnected cultures, all the way to Australia, all the way into the Asian cultures where you have dragons and all over the place. Gotta make sure I'm going the right way. It's just fascinating to me that there's consistencies in all of it, even when it comes down to the drawings themselves and the carvings themselves, depicting a lot of the same figures and the same stories. Here we are back again at this location where there's all the grease markings from the pioneers. So there was William Swap up there, 1855 it looks like. And so we're gonna continue on this way and get to this other one that looks like a big skull. But this area, obviously, a long time ago, and maybe even recently, gets flooded. You can tell that there's a lot of water, a lot of mud flow that comes down through this valley. What about the time way back before Montezuma, before Cortez? What about prehistory? What about way before that, when the calendars were all completely different, and when this whole area that's now the desert Southwest was actually a rich marshland where all of these valleys were flooded and maybe even connected to the Colorado River and all the way out to the ocean, meaning that indigenous people in prehistoric times could have got all the way here and traveled all over the world on reed boats. They could have come up and down these valleys all the way through what are now just desert salt flats, and they could have done it all with boats. Not to mention you have all of the stories coming from Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock and others, which I have had confirmed by my Native American mentors and teachers, telling me that Graham Hancock is correct, that there actually was like kind of a mud flood, a disaster that wiped a lot of things out, that caused a lot of this. Which, speaking of which, I'm walking through the area right now where there's a lot of petrified wood and everything right into the sandstone. That almost feels like evidence of exactly that. See this here? Yeah, this is where this wood is all petrified in here. And this plank of wood is all the way up here, coming out of the sandstone. Look at that. I'm kind of rushing my way through all of this. I previously have spent a lot of time up here hiking through, filming episode after episode, so you guys can get up to speed and go back and watch all of those. But I'm really excited to get back up to the petroglyphs, because what I learned even just since the last video is way different and changes a lot about what this whole place was about and what they were doing here. Before we can do that, here we are though, at this other bizarre looking stone that looks like a big serpent skull. And when we look at this head right here, we don't fathom how long the body could be. But follow me here. What I was told was that this skull or head that is now turned to sandstone could be part of an actual body that goes all the way down. Like you can see what looks like parts of it going further down the valley. So now we're gonna do something really cool. We're gonna start right here where it looks like this would be like the nose, the lips. This is like the nasal cavity and where the eye and everything would be, to this giant fossilized or petrified serpent body. And we're gonna try to walk down here and see if we can follow the segments of it all the way up to where the tail sits at the petroglyph site. So here we have the head, the eye in the back here. So then as I pan up here, you're gonna see segments as we go. So this looks like part of it. This almost looks like part of a vertebrae, right? Going in there. And then here we have the white stone. Looks like buried in the ground. Look at this one. Almost looks like a skull too, right? Looks like here's the nose. And then it looks like there's parts, again, that go up. Oh, those are the petroglyphs. Here's some right here. Yeah, we're right at the base here. Look at that. So there's all of these petroglyphs right here, going up to where there's more at the top, right over top of this weird looking thing. Interesting. Guys, I was just hiking along here, following this little clues and everything like that, trying to get to the petroglyphs, and you're not going to believe what I just found on the ground right here in front of me. That is pottery. This white fragment right there, laying in the dirt, in the sand, this is pottery. This is not pottery, this is just like a piece of rock, but that is pottery. Oh my gosh. It makes me wonder if all the way up this wash and clear up there, that would mean that there's something up there. I almost stepped on it. You've got a flake right there, right over here. This is the kind of pottery that I was talking about right there. See how it has the basket? So they would take the grass and weave it and then line it with clay, and then they would fire it by the fire, and that would cook the grass away, and then it would leave that pattern like the little triangular divots. But that's actually a pot shard. That's a piece of pottery right there, right next to flaking. Right here, below these petroglyphs. Wow, that would mean whoever carved these or lived here probably made that pottery. Another one. No way. Look at this. That even looks like a nostril. Look at how it looks like decomposed organic material. Look at how it's all sunken in from the erosion. And how all of it looks like just like a big skull half buried in the mud down in the bottom of the valley. There's more rocks that look like made of that same sandstone material. We follow along here. See? There's even like a little tide pool. Stuff swimming around in there. I'm not gonna touch it. I don't even want to get that water in my hands. Fascinating stuff. See the stone? And there they are. And there's the ravens. I'm just trying to count it up in my head now that I'm paying attention, because if I'm being told that this entire valley has to do with the petroglyphs and the carvings, and part of it being a big story about the emergence of humanity and the great serpent coming out of the earth and forming the world and the heavens and the skies and creating everything. It's so fascinating to come here, and I'm trying to count it up, and we've also got like 1, 2, 3 back at the main spot. I'm talking about these stones that actually look like giant snake heads sitting on the ground. So there's 3 there, 4, 5, 6, I think there's 7 so far, and now I'm sitting right at the base of the petroglyphs. We're back here at this first panel where you have these forms and entities, and we've spent quite a bit of time here. I just want to illustrate how much, when I come back, I notice new things, to where these almost look like they're coming out of something. So this looks like a box, and then it looks like these lines are coming up with these beings emerging. This one has earrings, antlers. Here's a form here. Here's one. There's one. There's one. There's one. There's a couple. This guy's holding like a staff. Here's one next to him. These are very similar to ones that I've seen over in Nevada. And where we're at here is southern Utah on the edge of Arizona and Nevada. See what I mean though? This looks like a box or an opening here. The lines on the top and the bottom coming up like this, almost like my tattoo coming up. And then you've got these beings coming out, and you've got the same over here. You've got these spiral patterns, and then these lines as well. And I'm being told, if this is a valley that indicates the creation and the emergence of great serpents, these spirals were not only directions of travel, where to go to hunt and stuff like that, and how to find other settlements, but also symbols of other realities. And a lot of these glyphs, I have been taught, you're not just supposed to look at them like flat two-dimensional carvings. They're actually a lot more complicated than that. My friend Chris Bartel, when he worked at Skinwalker Ranch for over 6 years, he said that he spent a lot of time hiking around on the mesa and the property with the dogs, and he picked up his camera, started doing photography, and what he naturally, intuitively started doing, he said that Skinwalker Ranch and the spirit of the ranch taught him how to take his photographs and flip them almost like you're putting them in a kaleidoscope. So you take the image and then you look at it in a mirror perspective, like you flip it halfway horizontally or vertically, and sometimes right in the center. And what it does is it takes a two-dimensional image, or even a scene like a form of geology, and it reveals things that normally you wouldn't see. And I'm actually having this stuff confirmed to me that in ancient indigenous shamanic methods, that they would actually use crystals and crystal balls and prisms in the similar way, like they would hold them up to their eyes or even up to the petroglyphs, and it would reveal more of a holographic, three-dimensional representation of what all of this is supposed to mean. And so instead of looking at it just like primitive graffiti where people were hanging out tagging their gang signs on the wall, you have to realize that it's part of an elaborate shamanic system that's meant to be looked at three-dimensionally, or almost fourth or fifth dimensionally, at a higher dimensional mindset of consciousness, where you're looking at these like they're three-dimensionally, holographically projected off of the wall, and sometimes even in motion to reveal a story. Not only that, these places also represented consciousness and spiritual doorways that you would use in meditation or ceremonies in order to travel through one doorway and come out another. I'm not talking about physically traveling through the doorways. I'm talking about doing a meditation, going out of body, almost like an astral projection, and then focusing on the glyphs and symbols and the holographic images written upon these stone walls, and traversing through them into other places on the planet using the electromagnetic field of the earth, almost like a subway system for your soul. I'm always so fascinated by the little details of the petrified wood and other things that you see in the rock. Now, we're not going to spend like a ton of time here today. I just want to point out that detail, that we're supposed to see this almost like it's a cross section, a flat representation of something that's supposed to be dynamically seen three-dimensionally or through other dimensions as well. My shadow is really bad here, but this is that strange box that we keep seeing here, where we also see other people that look like they're coming out of it or standing next to it or carrying it. And we have this line tunnel coming out. And I've also been told that this could represent the origins of the great serpent coming out of the earth as part of the creation story, and how it also represents tunnels and access ways through the earth to other places. These two here specifically, you've got this one right side up, represents living in physical reality like we are right now. And right here next to him, this is the afterlife, or the upside down, the spirit world, this other astral plane that exists right alongside us. And this is an indication that these places where these petroglyphs are doorways or access points to go from this dimension to this dimension. And I'm saying like that on purpose because the idea that the dead and the spirits of the dead are somewhere gone in the past is not something that is in the belief of the ancient indigenous people or the oral traditions of the living Native Americans today. Time and space-time and all that are one and the same in the same moment. And so the upside down and the now are all one and happening at the same time. And you can access and communicate with those places through your consciousness and through their practices. In fact, this symbol right here often means once you go this way, there's no turning back. And it's fascinating that that's marking is right above what looks like a doorway. I've made it all the way back here. These are the petroglyphs of the little guy that looks like he's running out of the portal. And I'm telling you, as soon as I got up to that last panel, I came hiking along the ridge, made my way up here. The next panel of petroglyphs is right up there. I have had equilibrium, weird dizziness stuff going on. Just like last time I come up here, something feels like it affects the back of my head. It affects my balance. I start to feel like I'm looking at the floor, but everything feels like my depth perception is weird and off. Like there's a resonant energy or something that comes off of the edge of this canyon. And when I get up here, it's like you're walking through a weird fog or like a dream or something. It's very strange. All the petroglyphs are right up there above me, but I just sit here. I've just been like sitting here leaning back against this rock up here because lightheaded, holy smokes. Lightheaded and dizzy. I'm not out of breath. I'm not tired. My legs feel fine. I ate a sandwich on the drive in here. I've drank some coffee. Everything else is good to go, but I get up here right by all these petroglyphs and it's like this weird, strange equilibrium, dizziness, lightheaded, like you're going through a fog, or it's like, man, it's like I can't even keep a grip on my thoughts. It's like I'm losing my train of thoughts, like a daydream almost or something. If I sat here and meditated for long enough, I'd probably get in sync to that signal and maybe have some kind of an experience. But here we are at the X. It says to either go up, which I can't go up, right? Unless I go way back. Hey, kitty, kitty, kitty. Hello?